Welcome back to Tater Talk, the podcast. I'm Rachel,
And I'm Haley.
and we are back with part two of our conversation with Haley Crumlin on quality at Lamb Weston.
Um, we were just wondering the process for testing and inspecting raw materials before they even enter production. And I know you said a lot of that is, like we mentioned earlier, the tissue testing, but is there anything else that is kind of a cool thing to add on to that?
I love this program that we have with Len Weston and
Mhm.
how much effort that we put into testing and sampling our product, because it really helps us be efficient in the way that we use our crop. And so when we're bringing our raw product in, like I talked about, okay, we're looking at the plant tissue. We're looking at we're looking at raw product as soon as it starts to develop in the field. Then we're taking samples when it goes into storage. Then we're taking samples when it comes out of storage. Then we're taking samples when it goes into the plant, right? So we have like all these checkpoints. And what that looks like, and having like all of those different samples is, we're looking at the size. We're looking at different categories of size and how that breaks down in percentages. So we know if we're making a smaller product that we're going to utilize a certain crop, field, storage, so on and so forth. Or we're looking at defects, and it actually tells us the type of defects as well when we're looking at and doing that kind of sampling, so that we know if our systems can adequately handle that type of defect. Some are easier to identify and eliminate in the process than others. So an example of that might be rot in a potato, right? Like it's very dark, and our ADR systems and our optical systems can identify it pretty easy and kick it off to a waste stream. Whereas like bruise, which is a lighter brown, is a bit harder. We're getting better and better, and technology has come quite a long ways to be able to do a better job of identifying that. But just some of the nuances of how we are able to manage that in the production facility. We're also gaining information on the natural colors and natural sugars, I should say, in the potato. So anytime a potato is under stress, right, starch can be converted to natural sugars, and then that manifests in color when we fry the product up after producing any type of potato French fry item. And so we do blanch tests on that, where right when the raw product is coming in, they'll take a raw potato and they'll cut it up into strips, and they'll fry it up, and they'll look and see like, wow, how much color do we have here? And so where there's different there's different categories that we put those color in, so we know how much our color score is, I guess you could say. And then we know if we can manage that in our process and leach those sugars out to maintain consistent quality on the finished side. And then we're also looking at the specific gravities, which is the solids content in the potato. So I'm sure you've heard it said, a potato is about 80% water and 20% solids. And so we really need to understand what that looks like from an initial standpoint, so we know how to set our process. And even past that, we're looking at that gravity range, which is so we understand like if we have a large variability of different solids contents within like a singular lot that we're going to utilize, because that will manifest in how we process as well, and what our finished texture will end up looking like. So there's a lot of information probably on a question that you thought was super simple.
No, you're good. I just was like, oh, I feel like we may have already kind of asked this, but clearly there was so
Clearly
much
we
more to
didn't.
add. So I'm glad we asked it.
Yeah. So having that information, I mean, it just really, it just adds to everything that our plants are able to be proactive in doing to have that quality and consistency.
I know when Kim Hoffman, Haley, and I were talking recently with Jeff Blue, it was just about all the different touch points. And I don't remember the number, and I don't want to say it incorrectly, but it was like the amount of touch points that there are. Like we knew that there was quality control, and we knew that there was monitoring, but to the degree of everything that you just listed is just a snippet, I think, too, of just seeing all the different checkpoints, I think was what you said earlier, that go into even getting the product to, production, or before it even makes it to in front of anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything to, you talked about, we may see foreign material or things like that come through, and how do you manage or respond to any like quality issues or customer complaints, because right, like we've said, no potato is perfect. Like we have all these checks and balances in play, but like again, like something's bound to sneak through the cracks or have something, not everything's going to be 100% perfect all the time. Can you talk about managing that process?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess I'll kind of start like high level overarching. I don't think everybody really realizes the various streams that our complaints are received in and that they flow through. So there could be a complaint that is, I could call it customer direct, right? That maybe a corporate QA manager such as myself might have contact with a customer's QA department and they're giving us feedback on a complaint. And so we'll fill those in and then get those into our complaint system. And then past that, it could be something where a customer complaint is received by a store operator from an end consumer, and they have customer specific systems that those will get entered into. And then that will generate an automatic email to somebody on our team to get input into our Lamb Weston customer system for follow through and investigation. Another route would be our Lamb Weston sales team, maybe like in food service, could be in contact with an operator, and then they could input a customer complaint. And then finally, and this is probably like a really complex one, is if we have just consumers out there on the web, right, and they're on social media or any of those platforms, that we have a customer affairs group that's continually scanning and monitoring all of those different areas in cyberspace to make sure that our Lamb Weston team has follow through back to those customers and has, that customer satisfaction. And then finally, we have a 1-800 number where we also receive customer complaints through. And we'll get those entered and do investigation and follow through from that standpoint too. So I think that just kind of gives you the big overarching picture of all the different streams where complaints can flow in. And then past that, I'll just give you a little glimpse into how we handle those just from a high level. So once those get entered into our system, we're in communication with our manufacturing teams and we're looking at our production records. We're looking at anything that the origination of that complaint could have been related to. And then we're giving feedback and working with the customer on how to have resolution for whatever that original complaint might have been.
Gosh, y'all stuff is like so full circle of like how much you see. Like we start from the seed all the way down to the customer when the actual consumer is touching our product.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was Rachel and I were up there, maybe this was in January when we did this, and we took a tour of the whole tech center, which I had never done before. And we met up with people who receive the actual samples of the products that may have, they had an issue with or whatever. And like even to a microscopic level, like we look under microscopes to see what actually is either contaminated or what was wrong with a certain product. I mean, it gets very scientific and granular. So it's not just like, oh, I found a rock in a bag. It's like, no, we found one tiny speck and we're going to figure out what it is with all that we can.
Yeah, no, yeah, we put a huge effort into making sure that we learn from every opportunity. If there is a failure, right? If there is some kind of feedback that we're getting from the field, like we want to know what it is so we can fix it, right? And if it's not from us, great. It just gives us more education on, what it is, and we can help educate our customer. Maybe it originated from their operation. But yeah, I think to your point, right? We treat foreign material contamination very seriously, and we just use it as an opportunity to just be better and better every day.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Well, I think that's all the questions we had. Is there anything else you want to add before we end this?
Can't really think of anything. I mean, it's just amazing to be part of such a great company. And I think even just for me, from a QA standpoint, I know coming into the podcast today, you guys had asked like, okay, are you comfortable talking about that? And it's great to have an opportunity to just give feedback on such a large scale, because from a quality standpoint, right, we have to understand anything from the very initial seed all the way through distribution to the end consumer eating it. And so it's just fun to be able to share some of that with our colleagues at Lamb Weston.
Well, thank you so much. This was so insightful. And we really appreciate your time.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Awesome.
Well, I'm sure we'll talk
Thank
again
you.
soon. Thanks. See ya.
Bye.
And that's all with our conversation with Haley. We hope you enjoyed it. I just get a kick out of it because I know we talk from like our side of it, of so much quality on the actual end product, like our end fry, checking the quality of that. But you forget, and it's just crazy to hear of how many checkpoints there are on the way, like all the way from the beginning.
Yeah, and I know she said it wasn't necessarily her area of expertise, but to know that we are going so far as to the raw and pulling tissue from the potato plant itself to better understand what that quality will impact later on to our final
Hmm.
products. I mean, there's so much to it. This whole first season of an agriculture focus to talk about how it impacts our end result with our products has just been phenomenal. I've learned so much.
Yeah, it's been amazing. And
Yeah.
that this is the end of our first season. So we will have so many more episodes that we're so excited to share, but we hope you guys enjoyed the first season and look forward to season 2 coming soon.
Yeah. And so keep the suggestions coming and feel free to keep listening to these episodes. And then we will see you for season 2 next time on Tater Talk.